The world is a better place because you are here to join us. My name is Matt Brown, and I am the host of the Productive Conversations podcast. And we have a literal action packed productive conversation for you, covering two of my favorite things in this world: football and movies. So today's show, we're going to begin it with NFL free agency as the deals are getting made, as people are making their commitments. There are too many deals going on for us not to talk about. So we are going to talk about some of the biggest deals happening in the NFL free agency right now. And next week, we will go more in depth with it. So we'll hear the big stories now. And then next week, we'll have a full length NFL free agency show. And we're here to react to the Oscars. The Oscars were this past Sunday. And I can finally say, for the first time in whatever, it was nice to have a normal, regular show where the right winners were picked and there wasn't anything too embarrassing or too controversial. So we'll get into that. We got the Razzies. We got people running for president we didn't expect. And we have a lot to cover on today's episode. Ryan Page is with me to talk about everything. What's up, Brian?
How's it going, Matt?
All right, I'm sure you're excited to really get into this. There's something here for everyone. As I expected, originally planning my month ahead. Obviously knew that free agency would start. I didn't think of course there was going to be big deals no matter what, but some of these deals have to be pointed out. And as I mentioned, you could check me out next week with Kevin to talk about it in more in depth. But I figured it'd be good to talk about some of the deals being made now. Then we'll obviously react to what we did last Wednesday in our Oscar show, which it seems we did pretty well with it. And we'll also talk about the ceremony itself. That's what is really based on today. So I'm sure you're ready to have a lot of fun with this. Essentially a little tweet cap show in itself. So
double tweet cap this week.
Let us enjoy it. Where do I start? Oh, you know where I'm starting. And people know I'm a very big New York Giants fan. And guess what? That team. Oh, man, where do I start? That team proved once and for all it is time to give up and restart. And why is that? That is because their premier running back, arguably the most popular player on the team, a beloved Giant, picked number 2 overall in the 2018 draft and just won the Rookie of the Year. Though definitely injuries plagued his career as a New York Giant, he was still a fan favorite. He was still one of the very best in the NFL at his position. And he's gone. There is nothing we can do. And what is that? That is finding out that when NFL free agency began this week on Tuesday, it was announced that Saquon Barkley will be going to the Philadelphia Eagles for a $37 million contract over 3 years, making him the highest paid running back in the entire NFL. And we have witnessed Saquon Barkley become the NFL's version of Kevin Durant. Here's the thing we have to talk about here. With Saquon going to the Eagles, there's a problem. The problem is not that he is going to make more money. I commend Saquon for doing right by his family. It's not pointing out and calling him a traitor, which he is, but I will say I understand why he made the deal. But Saquon Barkley decided to go to the number 1 arch rival of the New York Giants, making him ruin his legacy, making him be looked down upon by Giants fans. And it only gives us a reason to point at the front office for screwing this up as well. Man, as I said, I understand both sides of the argument. Well, the Giants didn't do what they had to do to keep him. I understand. Saquon just went to get the bag. But for somebody who said that I want to be a Giant for life, for somebody who has as much influence as Mr. Barkley does, he clearly played the system like everybody else in order to get paid. And you know what? I can't say I want Saquon Barkley to succeed in Philly, the number one team that always beats the Giants, especially over the last 5 years. Literally, the Giants have only beaten the Eagles once, and that one time they did it 2 years ago was in a meaningless game. It amazes me how many people are so split on this. But the thing is, fans have a right to be upset. And I get it. Most of us, if not 99% of us, have the actual skill a running back can get in that position that Saquon was in. But we sure as hell can be upset about it. And we sure as hell can voice our opinion on it without being looked down upon and being judged on it. So for people telling fans to shut your mouth, no, you listen to us. We're the people who pay your salary. We're the people who support you each and every single week. And when we see a fan favorite go to a team that we despise and hate so much, we have a right to be upset about it. And with that, I hope Saquon Barkley fails in Philadelphia. I don't want him to get hurt, but I hope he just shits the bed over in that disgusting link field and becomes an ultimate bust. And the Giants are not going to welcome you back with open arms, at least the fan base. Ryan, what do you think about Saquon Barkley going to the bad side?
I mean, yeah, it's tough to lose someone to a rival team. Obviously, I'm not a Giants fan. We'll get to the Jets in a minute here, but so yeah, I mean, I get that side of it as a fan. It's one thing to lose a star player. It's a whole like different animal to lose star player to a rival team. And yeah, in terms of fans complaining, I mean, why wouldn't you complain? It's a good player walking out the door. Uh, if you're a fan, all you can do is complain. I mean, I guess if you're a real positive fan, you can get behind. Well, all right, new season, new running back. Let's see what happens. But like that's a special kind of person to have that just unmitigated optimism as soon as bad news gets delivered. I can't say that I'm surprised, I'll be honest, Matt, with a decision to leave the Giants here. Especially for a team that, although in fairness, didn't do nearly as well as I think a lot of people thought they would do this most recent season. I think they thought that it would be a much deeper threat, at least at the beginning of last season
Oh, yeah.
in the playoffs. But it's still true that they have a lot of key players in a lot of key positions on the Eagles, and so adding a solid running back is something like a really solid running back is
Yeah,
going
makes
to
sense.
make all a big difference. It could really put them back to where a lot of people thought they should be this past season, right?
Mhm.
So from the business side of it, I get why the Eagles wanted him. I get why he wanted to make more money on a, let's be honest, team that's currently doing better. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's not often you get more money and a better shot at like a championship appearance. But that's what Saquon Barkley gets with this deal. Let's just be, call it like I see it here as not a Giants fan. But yeah, if you're a Giants fan, there's no good way to take this news. There's no positive spin to be placed on this. You need a lot of people in a lot of positions, it seems, or you're close, right? Even on the offense in particular, right? So I don't know. This definitely isn't going to help things as the Giants head through the rest of the offseason looking to put together the best team they can for next year.
Exactly. And that's the thing that I've seen sports commentators and broadcasters and fellow podcasters and even athletes coming at the fans for being upset at Saquon. It's not that he actually, literally out of the other 31 teams, even Dallas, if he went there, maybe Dallas would be not as upset, but we wouldn't be as frustrated as we are. It's because he specifically went to the team the Giants cannot beat and a team that has embarrassed them for the last decade. And that's what the problem is. And it amazes me how many people are mad at fans for coming at Saquon like that. And at the end of the day, I'm upset. I'll get over it. And I do think the Giants were a better team they were today than they were yesterday with all the additional deals. They got a competent running back in Devin Singletary. Brian
Mm-hmm.
Burns is joining the defensive line. He's a franchise player from the Panthers. They got another legit backup quarterback in Drew Lock. They signed Joe Runyon to help the offensive line, which is a major issue. I do think the Giants are better. And this clearly shows that they are, at least now, rebuilding and establish that. But it's the matter of Saquon going to a team that Giants fans hate the most. And that will no doubt be a primetime game when he returns to the Meadowlands. And we just hope that he becomes a big bust. And I'm not going to be a psycho toxic Giant fan and hope he gets hurt and point out that he is an injury prone player. So maybe, that's a one sacrifice we have to accept, but it's just him joining the dark side. It's Revenge of the Sith. You were supposed to destroy the Sith, not join them.
Not join them, right? Yeah, and I would say, obviously, if you're one of those fans that are calling for like injuries or taking it too far, and we don't have to outline what too far is. If you don't know what too far is, then you should stop talking. Anyone who's got a competent head on their shoulders can pretty much, they may not be able to articulate, oh, that's too far, but they'll know it when they see it. And so if players are reacting to that, again, I'm not on Giants side of Twitter, so I'm not seeing a lot of this. But if players are reacting negatively to some really grotesque comments, then you know what? I'm fine with that. But if the players are just mad that fans are mad, we don't like. So for players, just so you guys know, we're not millionaires because of all this. We don't make any money when you guys sign a massive deal with a new. We don't get anything from it. We just lose a player that we've been following. So the idea that fans of anything, not even just athletics, but fans of a TV show can't voice their listen, fans can be wrong, right? I'm not saying that all fans are right in their opinions. I think most of us are wrong most of the time. But the idea that they can't be mad about something, come on. We get nothing out of this. We get no benefit from Saquon. I'm not a fan, but Giants fans get no benefit from Saquon leaving. Period. There's no positive. Yeah. There's no upside. So why would they not be bummed? Like, why would they not be upset? Now, again, if you're taking it too far, if you're like DMing with, I hope you get hurt, or I hope your family, whatever.
Yeah.
Then if that's what they're reacting to, then I support the athletes and the team people and like the sports people 100%. But if that's not what's happening, and you're just mad that people aren't happy that you got paid more, that your friend got paid more, I mean, get over it.
Right.
Get over it. That's what it means to be an entertainer. Art is subjective, and I know sports is not art in general, but it is.
Except maybe the NBA.
No, I'm saying it's television. Sports is television right now. So art, that makes it subjective. People can dislike art even if it's a good thing.
Exactly, man. And like I said, we'll go more in depth next week when we soak it all in. And, this is a good transition to talk, some of the deals that have been made that have been really exciting. From Derrick Henry's going to Baltimore. We have Josh Jacobs going to Green Bay, Joe Mixon going to Houston, the Texans. We got other returning players from Mike Evans going back to Tampa. We got Chris Jones going back to Kansas City. Lots of things really to soak in. But one of the other we'll combine this segment into two just for time's sake, because there's one story we have to get into. But the other two big quarterback changes I wanted to point out. We have Russell Wilson signing a 1-year deal with Pittsburgh, leaving Denver after that complete disaster over there, where they are going to pay $34 million of his contract. They still owe him over $235 million over, I believe, 5 or 6 years. So he will get the veteran minimum at $1.2 million. Then we have Kirk Cousins going to Atlanta, signing a 4-year contract with them. So what do you think is more, what I point out these two quarterbacks, Ryan, because one is Russell Wilson, whose legacy has been killed throughout the years in terms of just some of the ultimately the goofy stuff he does off the field. But still, at one point, he was a top 5, maybe even a top 3 quarterback, and did lead the Seahawks to 2 Super Bowls, winning one of them. Then we have Kirk Cousins, who was like, I guess until the NFL Netflix doc, was like the, another goofball. He's like, oh, he's good, but is he that good? He seems quirky. He dresses in Kohl's. He loves Jesus too much. But yet, after the Netflix doc, he's turned to a fan favorite across the league, then tears Achilles. But now he goes to Atlanta, a team that is definitely on the rise, who just needs a quarterback. and they have a lot of good stuff cooking there. Out of these two moves, Ryan, what do you think is the most intriguing?
I mean, Kirk Cousins changes the outlook for Atlanta
Mhm.
considerably. It also, I mean, this has to be seen as possibly one of the best things that could happen. It's what the new coach in Atlanta. Was it Raheem
Rashad
Morris?
Jennings.
Rashad.
Sorry, no, you're right. Raheem
Yeah,
Morris.
yeah, Raheem Morris. I mean, this is perfect for him. Because this was truly the most glaring issue. It's not like, oh, we have a quarterback, but it's not great. They didn't have a real quarterback. They had like a string of people who would be lucky to be backing up
Mhm.
other mid-tier quarterbacks. I think that's fair to say. Still, but again, still a team that is like universally considered on the rise. So
Oh yeah, with players like Kyle
this,
Pitts and
right,
Bijan Robinson and Drake London, they are in a great spot
exactly.
and a very good line.
So this is really truly, I think, like receiving, like, you missed a piece when you were putting the puzzle together, and then you checked under the couch, and there it was. Like, this could really be good for them to give them some real intrigue going into the season, to see what this team can do now that it's got somebody, with talent at all of the positions, right? I don't know what the Russell Wilson thing is about. I don't know. I think the thought process is that the disaster that was his time at the Broncos was somehow not at all his fault. And I didn't follow it closely enough to know
Mhm.
whether or not I agree with that. I just, as a person who thinks life is more complicated than folks on the internet do, doubt that it was all someone else's fault. Um, and I've seen enough memes around the Russell Wilson one in particular to know that I'm not alone in that assessment. That this is
Mhm.
probably I mean, not a downgrade for the team. They needed a quarterback, but I'm not fully convinced that this is a substantial upgrade. I don't know that
Yeah,
the
from
team.
Kenny Pickett and
Yeah,
for a quarterback that, like I said, has declined. Though he played a little better with Sean Payton and the Broncos, but they, like the Giants, need to completely reset everything at this point.
yeah. So I don't know that. I don't know that they get an even better record. I think that their record's probably. I would not be surprised if their record remained completely unchanged.
Which is
With
interesting. I mean, they did make the playoffs last year, but especially
Yeah,
in a draft with very good potential quarterbacks, I'm surprised they aren't deciding to go for it. But the Steelers are as consistent as it goes, and Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season since he took over in 2006.
which is crazy, just crazy, because they haven't always been a good team, but they've always won.
Yeah, just good or no. It
Yeah,
still counts if you're a game over 500. You want to know
if
one of the most
yeah,
interesting facts about the Pittsburgh Steelers organization? Well,
sure.
there's two. There's two. So they have um they have 6 Super Bowls, second
Hmm.
most. They've only had 3 coaches in the last 60 years. Truly as consistent as they come. And
Yeah.
here's another one. They have never, or sorry, I should say, they haven't had a top 5 overall pick in the NFL draft since 1970.
Wow, really? So they've
They've,
been putting together this team with, whatever's just mid-tier
mm-hmm.
talent.
Yeah, and then obviously the great era in the 70s, 4 Super Bowls in 6 years in the 70s.
Hmm.
80s they were 500. They made the Super Bowl in the 90s.
Yeah,
Lost to Dallas. Then they won 2 in 2000. Last one with Bill Coward and then Mike Tomlin,
yeah,
and
I
then they
remember
just
that.
stayed consistent. And a Super Bowl berth in 2010. But now you add Russell Wilson to that great organization with that history,
Yeah,
and
no
it's just
change.
interesting going to see. Yeah, a little upgrade for Kenny Pickett, but he's obviously not the talent he once was.
I mean, I'll say this: this one's good for Wilson,
Oh yeah,
because I don't know that Wilson will play much better at all on
and
the
he's getting
team,
a
but
starting
just
role right away too. When
yeah,
some argue he can't, he
but
might not
whatever,
be good enough.
yeah, whatever thing that the Steelers have got going on with destiny, where they're always a winning team, is going to make Russell Wilson look better. Because he's going to be on a perpetually winning team, even if he plays exactly the same as he would have played on a lesser team that was going to go like over in the first like 5 weeks, 6 weeks. So, yeah, I mean, good for Russell Wilson, but I don't know that this helps the Steelers in any meaningful way.
Indeed. But again, we'll have to see where this goes. They did trade one of their top receivers in Deontay Johnson, who people said that he was a problem in the locker room. And they traded him to Carolina specifically for a team that is truly collapsing as an organization. So that clearly was a punishment for only a 7th-round pick, too. So we will see how
They
this
just
all
wanted to offload
unfolds.
him. They just want to get rid of him at that point.
Clearly. So we still have a few more days of free agency to go. We'll see where Justin Fields winds up. We'll still see what other plate teams do, but we'll definitely get more in depth with that next week. But the last NFL story before we transition to our Oscars portion of the show. Oh man, this dropped late this afternoon, Ryan,
Is it?
and we just got to talk about it now. There's a good chance we'll go more in depth with it on Thursday's tweet cap,
Thursday's tweet cap.
so we'll check that out then. But I have to let everybody know this, and we need to hear Ryan's reaction especially. But here we go. Let me read you this report from Adam Schefter himself, the number one source of NFL news. New York Jets quote, New York Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers is on Robert F. Kennedy's shortlist to be his running mate on an independent presidential ticket in November, the New York Times reported. Take that all in, Ryan. How about the fact that the New York Jets quarterback and Aaron Rodgers might retire from the team to run for vice president of the United States? Tell me what goes through your mind when you hear that.
I
Reported
mean,
by the New York Times.
honestly, it's almost a perfect tweet from Adam. It is the most make-believe sounding real information that has ever been shared. Usually when you hear something that sounds super fake online, it is super fake. That's why it sounds that way. This is all real, but it sounds like something out of an episode of like Veep.
Yeah.
Absolutely no sense at all. And by the way, I'm looking here at RFK's. This is about 6 days ago, so grain of salt. Axios is reporting that RFK is currently on the ballot in Utah, but will soon qualify in 6 more states, 3 of which are considered key battleground states. I believe RFK needs to be on like I forget the number. It's more than 6 though. To actually get into a general election debate, he certainly needs more than 6 to. He needs to be in enough states to theoretically be able to win an election, in order to be in the debate, polling at 15%. So Aaron Rodgers might throw away. This is true. The smartest man in the NFL, Joe Rogan would probably back me up on that. Smartest man in the NFL might throw away the remainder of his legendary career, by the way, to lose Utah by like 200 points and also not even be on enough ballots to be able to win the election. It's the dumbest thing he could possibly do. And just for people who don't know, find Aaron Rodgers to be one of the dumbest people I've ever heard speak in my entire life. I don't think he's smart. I think if you think he's smart, you might be one of the dumbest people I've ever heard in my entire life. And this would take the actual cake if he gave up his professional football career to do this. It'd be one thing. All right, I don't like certain candidates for office, but if one of the main candidates asked Aaron Rodgers to do this, right? If I'm just gonna throw it out there. If Donald Trump went to Aaron Rodgers and said, "I saw you on Joe Rogan. I love that you hate vaccines. You should be my running," and Aaron Rodgers said, "You know what? Sure, I'll leave what I'm doing because guess what? If you do that, if you side with him, like worst case scenario, you're a coin flip away from being the second most important person in the country, right? Do you do this? There's nothing here. There's nothing. If this dude's last name wasn't Kennedy, he wouldn't have even qualified for Utah. Like, This is stupid, Matt. You can't possibly think this is smart.
No, I don't. For the fact, one thing you're telling me after 4 snaps, for all you lose your first season. For all that talk about how you want to prove people wrong and how you want to come back and give the Jets another true chance. And just a couple weeks ago, he said he was up for as much as 4 more seasons to play for the Jets quarterback. After all that fanfare, and you just get up and leave, man, talk about being mad at Saquon. That will truly be the most hated athlete in New
I'll
York.
tell you what. I'll tell you what. By the way, if he does leave, it's because his knee's effed or his Achilles is effed, and he tried to freaking, he tried to homeopathic medicine his way to owning the liberals, and now it's probably irreparably damaged. If he doesn't play again, if he's done, that means that we were all right. Everyone who said you really should do like modern medicine to heal that thing, and he's like, "No, I could play right now." Uh, when he was throwing that ball around on the sidelines, and everyone looked at me and said I was wrong, and he's proving everyone right, and the doctors don't know anything. No, if he doesn't play next season, it's because he's hurt and he doesn't want to admit that he's an idiot who thought that he was smarter than medicine. That's what that means. And you know what? He deserves Robert Kennedy. I don't want him to be in a real campaign because he might actually win something. He deserves to be in this Don Quixote freaking nonsense campaign that Robert Kennedy is running. Kennedy has lost he tried to be the Libertarian nominee. They said no. He tried to be the Democratic nominee. They said no. No Labels doesn't want him. And No Labels doesn't even have No Labels has no candidate. And they just all they know is they don't want him. That's all they've decided. Was like, we don't know who it's going to be for us yet, but it's not going to be Robert Kennedy Jr. That's all he's done is get told, nah, not this year, not us, sorry. But not Aaron Rodgers. He's into it. Absolutely stupid. And I'm sure he's only done it so this could happen, so people could scream about how stupid he is, and because he likes to hear people say his name. So congratulations, Aaron, you've
It was a
accomplished
quiet
that.
6 weeks without
Exactly.
him.
Yeah, he felt like, oh my God, no one remembers me because we're not talking about me. God forbid we take a minute to talk about Kirk Cousins, Aaron. Goodness gracious. So this is stupid. I hope he does it, but it's stupid if he does. I don't know. At this point, I've lost enough seasons as a Jets fan that if he really thinks this is smart, I hope he does it because I don't want talk about quarterback IQ being an important part of the game, especially for an older quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. I don't know how you see quarterback IQ in this decision. It's simple math. You need more than 6 states to win the presidency, you goof.
You imagine they somehow pull it off? You actually see him on a VP debate in the fall.
I would love that. It'd be hysterical, but they still won't win. Even if they get on enough state ballot, even if they get on all 50, Matt, truly, even if they get on all 50, they're still not going to win. They're just not going to.
Dude, also you have here that who was also considered
No.
Jesse Ventura. With some more of the quotes here from the
Well,
New
in
York
fairness,
Times
you
article.
know what? In fairness to Kennedy, Jesse Ventura was elected governor of Minnesota and is considered, by the way, to be a decent governor. So, I won't.
And he
As
won't. He
funny
doesn't
as
want to
that
choose
is,
him. He'd rather
as
choose Aaron Rodgers, the New York Jets quarterback.
again, as funny as that is, that Jesse Ventura, he's technically more qualified than Robert Kennedy. So I don't want to poo-poo that, but they're both more qualified than Aaron Rodgers to lead anything. We can't even have him lead the Jets offense. He got hurt in 4 freaking tries.
Man, the fact that he just retire up. Do you feel by time we speak again in 2 days over Zoom to make another show that he'll come on his boy Pat McAfee to clear this up, and then we can report on that,
Clear it up?
or
No.
to make clear, or just
He'll talk about it.
to confirm or deny the rumors.
Yeah, he'll
To
say
be
that
fair,
he's
this is
being
all
considered.
rumors.
He'll say that he's being considered. Even if he's not being considered, he's going to publicly say he's being considered. Because, again, he has to have people talking about it. So, yes, by the time we talk about this again in just 2 days' time, we will have new information from Aaron himself where Aaron says he's considering it. And I believe that 100%. I don't know that that means he's going to be picked. I don't know that means that Aaron Rodgers will even agree to do it. But or even that Robert Kennedy is looking for Aaron Rodgers. Again, Jesse Ventura and Aaron Rodgers are very different people. It'd be weird to put them on the same list, but who
It's
knows?
also wondering if, Rodgers might say, well, I could do both. Not
I mean, technically, you could, right? I mean, actually, that'd be tough, right? Because football
with
season starts.
if you
Yeah.
start in July and you have to at least commit till New Year's Eve, where you have to play on Sunday and Monday or Thursday, and you have practice on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Then you travel Saturday. No, I don't think it's possible. He
So, I
might
mean,
say,
listen,
unless the Jets, who clearly will bend over backwards for him, give him a special schedule.
I mean, yeah, they could reduce his practice so he can do stuff. The only
Just,
thing, the
oh,
only
man.
thing I can think of, the only thing I can think of is that they come to the conclusion that seeing the vice presidential candidate play football every week is
That's the campaign tactic.
is enough exposure for the vice presidential candidate that it's fine. They'll be like, Kennedy will do all of the regular stuff that he's going to do while running, and then just be like, and look at Aaron Rodgers. He did good last week, But that means, what if the Jets lose? He's going to look like a loser in real time. He could look like a loser. What if the
Not
Steelers beat the
already.
Jets? You look like a loser in real time. That's a dangerous game. But that's the only thing I can think of, is if their thought is that, I mean, A, he retires outright to do this, or B, their thought is, you just being a famous quarterback is enough for this to work. And in fairness, it is enough for this to work, because no matter what he does, it's not going to work.
Man,
So
this is so Jets too.
it
Like
is.
you telling me this guy who's supposed to save the franchise, not only I thought it was so Jets after losing him in 4 plays, but he decides to come back and want to come back, and then he leaves to go into politics.
The only thing that would be more Jets is if he waited till the after the first preseason game. That'd be the only thing more Jets, is if he waited till first preseason game and was like, actually, I want to do vice president, and then left mid game. That'd be the only thing more Jets, is if he left mid game to go be the vice president.
Oh,
But
last thing here before we move to talking about Oscars, there was a Packers podcaster named Kyle Fellows who tweeted on April 25th, 2023, right around the time where Aaron Rodgers announced he's leaving the Packers. He said, Jet fans are going to be big mad when Rodgers doesn't play in 2024, so he could be Robert Kennedy's running mate. Called it. Oh, man. That's a real tweet. I can even show you right here.
I believe you. I mean, he likes Kennedy. They don't like vaccines, the two of them, and so they bonded over that. And in fairness to Kennedy, Kennedy, if you listen to his plans, are, dude, you just whatever he's feeling mostly. He's not doing oh, I'm doing all Republican or all Democrat stuff like traditional. He's just kind of whatever popped into his head on the most recent episode of Joe Rogan podcast. That's his policy platform, which is exactly how Aaron Rodgers' policy platform would look. So they're very similar in terms of their lack of thought that goes into, all of this. So they're made for each other. And so I get why you predicted it. That was a good prediction, but you know what? With a little bit of thought, you get past how ridiculous it sounds, they're made for each other. It makes sense.
Clearly, man. Clearly. So let's move on again. Check us out next week for more in-depth coverage of NFL free agency on Productive Conversations. So now let us react to last weekend's Oscar ceremony. The 96 Oscars took place on Sunday. And you know what? It was a great show. Oppenheimer wins big, 7 Academy Awards, and which includes your Best Picture winner, your Best Actor and Supporting Actor, your Best Director and Cinematographer, and
Score,
to name a few. We had Poor Things get a lot of wins. We had really cool moments and performances. Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Zone of Interest were the only multiple winners. We've had movies get shut out, like Killers of the Flower Moon, and pretty interesting stuff. Maestro got nothing. And let's talk about the ceremony itself. So first things first, Ryan, as we predicted, Oppenheimer winning Best Picture and Christopher Nolan winning Best Director.
Yep.
pretty easy call on us, right? But you were very happy to see that the Academy got it right there.
Yeah, and it was kind of cool that I mean, this is the first time in a long time that not most people, but a lot of people, if not most people, have seen the winner of the Best Picture.
Right?
So I think, and honestly, just as a note, I think that contributed to the way that this entire Oscars felt. It was inevitable. So like, if you're a movie nerd, and you hated that, oh, it's gonna go to Nolan, everything's gonna go to Nolan and Oppenheimer. There's nothing interesting. And that was a big budget movie. Of course, it's gonna win. Whatever. I get you. I hear you. But this Oscars felt the least unbearable out of every Oscar I can recall in my lifetime. It felt the
Mhm.
most interesting to like watch clips of and to follow along with and all that. And I think it's because the movie that it was going to win was a movie everyone had seen. Barbie was in there, and everyone had seen that too. So like two of the top movies this year were movies that everyone had seen. So people actually kind of cared a little bit more. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Can
oh, I
actually
know
make
that
a
one.
take.
Yeah, like, oh, I know that one. That was a great movie. Like, I wonder how it does. Like, people were interested. They had a reason to be interested. Whereas, when your winner is, a an art house movie that only 20 people saw in limited showing in the required theaters that you need to even be nominated for an Academy Award, and that's it. No one cares if they won Best Picture because they've never seen it and they'll never end up seeing it more than likely.
Right. And that's the case here. It was an Oscars that people can all get behind, if you will.
Yeah.
And two specific winners that it seemed the world and internet Twitter and film Twitter really enjoyed seeing was Robert Downey Jr. taking home an Oscar and Cillian Murphy. What do you think, Ryan, about the two male leads of Oppenheimer taking home statues and Cillian Murphy and Robert Downey Jr.? And it seemed like one was the most beloved, truly, next to Keanu Reeves, he seems to be the most loved actor, period. People just love Cillian Murphy, how kind he is, how chill he looks, how humble he portrays himself to be, and on top of that, being a damn good actor. And then we have somebody who was the highest box office star in the world, who
Mm-mm.
25 years earlier was battling personal demons, was incarcerated for it, did legitimate time in prison
Yeah.
for those crimes, and 25 years later becomes the biggest Hollywood star and win an Oscar, completing one of the greatest comeback stories you'll ever see. Pretty
Mm-hmm.
great stuff to see.
Yeah, no, I mean definitely two feel good stories. I think we kind of predicted it. I thought maybe there'd be a surprise at supporting actor, but realistically, there was never going to be a surprise at supporting actor. Um, yeah, I personally, Robert Downey Jr. was awesome. I didn't think he was the best person in that category, but he was good. They were all good, and we said that on our show. Like none of these felt like runaways in terms of talent, right? They all felt like runaways because Oppenheimer was going to win 7 awards, and we just knew that, so they had to get those numbers from somewhere. But like none of the people in the category felt like they didn't deserve to be there and didn't deserve to maybe even be the winner. I guess maybe the Ken character would have been a weird person to win Best Supporting Actor, right? But but other than that, like yeah, everyone in there was great. Every role in there was great, and so you beat stiff competition. That's always good, and it'll be interesting to see what they do next. Both of them. Robert Downey Jr. could go back to big box office
Some
super smash
franchise.
hits. I don't think that Murphy's going to do that. That hasn't been his career, and I don't think that will become his career because of this.
Even
But
rumors
interesting
about
to
him
see.
becoming James Bond.
Yeah, that would be bad in my opinion. But well, I mean, you know what? I haven't seen it yet, so I can't say it will be bad. I can say that that doesn't sound like a good casting choice to me. But I don't know what the movies are like. I don't know anything about it, so who knows?
And also just um going to Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan seems to be like the director. Like when you Google film director, he will be the first person to come up. Like him winning an Oscar was a great day for cinephiles and movie nerds because his name is so big to a blockbuster film as well. For somebody who's able to combine the thrill of blockbuster with legitimate cinematic value to it. I've seen him finally get his Oscar win. And it was only appropriate that probably the biggest name in film directing, a generation before him was Steven Spielberg. Him literally giving him the Oscar. You could even
Hmm.
say Steven Spielberg literally passing the torch to him
Well,
being the
there's
leader
a ton of
of all
ton
film
of
stuff.
similarities, by the way, between their journeys to their first Oscar. With Steven Spielberg made two World War II movies, the
Mm,
second one winning. It was a similar, amount of they both had been snubbed in the past by,
right.
they both had been nominated early but didn't win. So there was actually a lot of similarities between the two, beyond the fact that Spielberg was the premier director of his time, and Nolan seems to be pretty safely the premier director of the modern like times. It's just funny because what Christopher Nolan was going to save movies back during COVID, and he didn't, but now he might, because everyone knows his name, and that's cool, right? I mean, again, a famous director, a properly famous director, director who, I mean, he seems to cast most of the same people over and over again, including Cillian Murphy, but who could probably take a cast of talented but unknown actors and still sell a big box office because the name Christopher Nolan alone is going to get people to show up.
Right. Like you could already say Academy Award winner Christopher Nolan forever now.
Right.
Before,
That alone, Christopher Nolan's name, the fact that he's won this award, that alone could sell a movie. You don't even need a big cast.
right, bummed he didn't take home 3 Oscars as I thought. Didn't win in writing. That went to American Fiction.
I predicted both the writing
Got
ones
that
correct.
one. How
Both
about
of them
that
were
one,
correct.
Ryan? You did get the writing ones. How do you feel with that, especially the American Fiction one?
Well, yeah, I like I said in the predictions, I thought I would have read the screenplay for American Fiction
As a
and
book.
not seen the movie. I would have read the screenplay as a book. I thought it was great. It was very well written. We'll touch it quick. Anatomy of a Fall won the best original screenplay. I
Mhm.
also predicted that. And I think that was also the right call. I know that there was a lot of people who were hoping for oh God, who was the other one that was up? The big one. There was a big one that everybody thought would win that.
For holdovers.
Yeah, holdovers, but I just think it's a simpler oh yes, the holdovers ended up having problems, but I think it was a simpler story told
Yeah.
easy told more easily, and sometimes the easy story to read and understand is the one that people remember.
Now saying that, Ryan, it was announced just a day before the ceremony that the writer of Luca 2 said that he wrote a script similar to the holdovers that Alexander Payne did read, and apparently and he accused him of plagiarism, which only made it a little awkward. Jimmy Kimmel did note, you know, you have to figure out when you write you have to figure out the amount of time when you can say something's adapted or not. But it's I definitely the voting was already in, but it seems like that was clearly a PR hit that the writer was going for in that one, and that does help kill the legacy a little bit of the film until somebody comes out, whether it's Payne or the studio
You want
saying
my
this is
my
BS.
my opinion to that is that writer thought that the holdovers could win.
See,
I'm serious. Thought that the holdovers could win and wanted to just throw it out there into the ether that actually I wrote it. Uh, as a way to maybe, and if they had one, probably would have pursued it like crazy to try and get credit for writing that Oscar-winning screenplay.
yeah,
I bet you they don't say a word. I bet you it's over now. They don't care because it didn't win.
it'll
And
just be
so
like an interesting fact on
yeah.
on a
Well,
Wikipedia page.
no, because it's make believe. This is what it is. I saw what they said. The one they wrote was about a doctor who bonds with a patient over Christmas break or whatever. Like, sure, it's about a curmudgeonly old guy talking to a 15-year-old, but The Holdovers is not the first movie to do that premise. You know what I mean? Like, old
Yeah.
man befriends child is not a new premise. Grumpy old man. I mean, Up. They're all just doing Up then. You know what I mean? Like, come on.
Yeah.
So no, there. I don't think there. I from what I know, and I didn't see a lot of it, but from what I know, there's nothing that would make me think that there was a substantial. I mean, can we say that there wasn't like a spark of inspiration? Like, that's kind of interesting. No,
Yeah.
probably never say that. But I don't believe anything in the written screenplay was pulled from the written screenplay that this guy is claiming it was. I think it was all made up, and he was going to just put it out there in case it won because it might have won. And now that it hasn't won, he'll go on to make Luca 2, so nobody can watch that.
And last thing here on the writing, just happened to point this out, was literally just reported by Variety. Some say that, quote, Christopher Nolan's next film might be a remake of the 1960s TV series The Prisoner. It is known that he has started writing something. The following story follows an agent who resigns from his job but is kidnapped to a mysterious seaside village full of captives and constant surveillance. That's cool, I guess. Think it's real?
Yeah,
I wanted it to
could
be
be.
James Bond.
You think he's gonna do the next James Bond? No.
I just figured, I won my Oscar. I've written all these things. Why not just do something for the hell of it? A
So
fantasy project.
he
Because
does
I like, you know, Greta
he doesn't
Gerwig's
do
next
that.
film. I know exactly. That'd be the one thing. Unless you want to say, doing Batman. But he clearly took that very seriously.
No, yeah, he did Batman like a Christopher Nolan. He made Batman do what he would have wanted to do. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, "All right, I'll make a Batman movie." He was like, "Okay, I'll put Batman in my Christopher Nolan
Yeah.
movie."
Saved
Like,
saved the film franchise in general.
yeah, so I don't know that the Bond people will want that for James Bond. I think
Mm.
we've seen with, when people talking about a woman playing Bond or a person of color getting the role of Bond, right? Like we've seen controversy over the idea of Bond changing in any way. People are very upset about the
Mhm.
idea of Bond being different than what we expect to see of James Bond. So I don't think that the people in charge of that intellect, that property are going to let Christopher Nolan just play around with it. If he agreed, like if he really liked James Bond and was willing to kind of like reel it in to do James Bond, then I'm
Yeah.
sure they would love to have his name attached to it. But I don't think he will, and I think they probably know that. So no, I don't think that he will get to be James Bond. I think he'll continue to make his movies his
Yeah,
way.
his original ideas, and that's
Yeah.
not a bad thing at all.
No, it's
I
good. We need that. To be
clearly,
honest.
especially for one of the best things that writer won, Cord Jefferson, for he calling out
The
Hollywood instead
10
of doing
million. Yeah.
instead of doing one $200 million film, why don't you do 10 $20 million films, which is what we want. That's simply it.
Right. And maybe I know a lot of people have been saying that I'm just some sort of a what's it called? A Luddite. Maybe they don't all need to be 3.5 hours long.
True. I think it's a fair
I've
point
seen
out.
I've seen a number of people say that the Killers of the Flower Moon needed to be 3.5 hours long, and I'm telling you right now, that's not true.
Oh yeah, we could
It's
point out
just
some
not
scenes.
true. So I just want to put that out there. That movie was too long for real. It probably is the reason it lost, to be honest with you, because it had a bunch of the stuff that the Oscars really likes, and now it's stiff competition this year. I get that, but the 3.5 hour time frame probably didn't help. So yeah, make more movies with a lower budget and less time on them. Like, make them shorter.
Clearly. And also, last thing, just on Bond, and I've talked to you about this too, because this was reported now at least I would say as far as a year and a half ago that that the studio wanted Aaron Taylor Johnson as the new James Bond. He's 33 years old. He's best known as the title character as Kick-Ass, and him being Bond would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean that would make sense. It'd be a younger Bond, right? So that
Yeah,
would
only
be interesting.
33. I think
Uh,
James. I think Daniel Craig was in his late 40s when he took over, or at least
yeah,
40.
and that's in fairness, that's a difference, right? Like that would be different than normal Bonds. Bonds are usually older, not old, but older than that.
Yeah,
But baby steps to change Bond. If the story makes sense, if it's a young Bond, if it's like a prequel sort of deal, Bond training, uh, could be great. Could be a lot of fun. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that goes. Batman became younger, and I thought that was good. I thought they did well with that. So yeah,
gotta
I don't
do
think that's a
Batman
big deal.
Begins with Michael Keaton because he literally looks like the cartoon Bruce Wayne right now.
That would be great. And he still has that mean mug that
Hmm.
still has that mean mug.
So you mentioned Killers of the Flower Moon just a minute ago, and you mentioned how probably its length deteriorated its chances of actually winning. And pointing
Yes.
out here, probably the best chance of it actually taking home gold was Lily Gladstone winning Best Actress. You said
Mhm.
Lily Gladstone.
I
I
did
said
predict
Emily
it.
Blunt. We both Emily Blunt. Um, Um, wait, sorry, I said
Emily
sorry.
Blunt was in
She was
was
in the
yeah was in
supporting actor
Oppenheimer.
though.
Yeah.
Um, sorry,
Okay.
yes, we both said Lily Gladstone in Best Actress,
Yes.
but we were both wrong and wound up
Hmm.
going to Emma Stone. Emma Stone won her second Oscar, for portraying Bella in Poor Things, which no one here is saying she definitely didn't deserve it. She won
Hmm.
Homer second. She is literally my favorite actor, female actor. And you and I said maybe this could be a thing, especially her winning Golden Globes. And she wound up winning. And she didn't even look happy to win when they zoomed in on her. And she said right away, I share this with you, Lily Gladstone. But Ryan, talk to me about Emma Stone's upset.
Yeah, it's crazy to say it's an upset because she was, with the exception of Barbie, in the only female-led movie
Mm-hmm.
of the 10 best pictures. So the idea that, obviously Margot Robbie was famously not up for an award, which people were quite upset about. So the idea that the only woman who was nominated that actually led their film wouldn't win in hindsight is silly. So it's weird to call it an upset, but it was considered an upset. Lily Gladstone was considered the favorite. But I mean, I loved Poor Things. Like I said, I broke up my prediction or my lists into three different lists, and one of them was what about rewatchability, like movies that I would watch again because I could really like a movie and still never want to see it again. And Poor Things was actually at the two spot on that list for me. It
So
was
you
one
would,
of the most rewatchable
yeah.
movies of the 10 this year. The Holdovers being the only one I put above it because a good comedy is always good to rewatch. But so yeah, it makes sense. Again, super good film. Didn't win a lot of other places. I mean, it did well, but like for as good a film as it was, in another year, I feel like it could have really cleaned up. But obviously it had Oppenheimer to contend with. So yeah, I thought it was a good pick. I get why she, meaning Emma Stone, immediately tried to like cushion the blow because a lot of people were expecting Lily Gladstone to win. So there's already disappointment. And then optically, there's, that, which would be going all over the internet if, being Lily Gladstone would have been a historic winner because she's a Native American woman, whereas Emma Stone has already won. So this is not even Emma Stone's first win. So I get why there was that immediate pivot to talking about Lily Gladstone's performance, but I don't think it took away from Emma Stone's win. You could tell she was very happy, surprised, but very happy. So that's good. Always fun to see. And Lily Gladstone won SAG, right? So it's not like Lily Gladstone didn't get any props for my opinion, the best performance in that entire movie.
No doubt
Killer scene.
about that, Ryan. No doubt. So now let's talk about the bits in the actual ceremony.
Yeah.
Um, First of all, Ryan, talk to me about Jimmy Kimmel hosting the Oscars. How would you rate his hosting duties?
Good, but he's always decent at hosting, right? This is certainly not Jimmy Kimmel's first time hosting an awards show. Um, and this felt pretty much like every other time that anyone has hosted an award show. I think part of the reason that everyone is into this is because there's been so many flubs recently. I mean, obviously, there's the one example that we've talked about on this show. We won't go into Joe Coy again, but even without Joe Coy, they
Oh,
tried
Joe
the.
Coy.
I know Joe, but even with when they tried to do like no hosts, right? They just had to, like a
Yeah.
rotating cat. Like they just
They
had
had the
so
three
many.
people host. Do you remember that? Amy Schumer and I forgot.
I
They
don't.
hosted the Oscar. Exactly. So
Yeah.
you
They've had
don't.
so many bad, like, and not just the Oscars, all these award shows have had so many bad hosting schemes that having a good host who knows what they're doing and will give, a couple of good chuckles while keeping the show moving, which is really the main job of the host is to keep it moving. Uh, I think that was good, and Jimmy Kimmel did all that.
So, having said that, Ryan, some people pointed out that maybe we already found Jimmy Kimmel's successor in becoming the Oscar host. John Mulaney, beloved stand-up comedian. Like, I don't think anyone has a one bad word to say about John Mulaney. He was presenting Best Sound. He was hilarious. All he did was explain the Field of Dreams plot and
Mm-hmm.
how ridiculous it actually is. And then the internet decided, you know what, who should be the next Oscars host? John Mulaney. So do you agree, Ryan, after watching John Mulaney present Best Sound, he should be the next Oscars host?
No. Um, the reason why is for what I just said. The Oscars host's main job is to keep the thing moving. John Mulaney, as you pointed out, I laughed, by the way, thought it was funny. And well, that wasn't even his only joke. He had a couple of pretty good jokes.
Hmm.
He made fun of Madam Web, which was really funny, right? But he went on this tangent. So after making fun of Madam Web, which totally appropriate joke for 2024 Oscars ceremony, uh, explained the Field of Dreams plot and it's almost its entirety. That's a bit of a departure from keeping things on track. I don't know that I would trust John Mulaney to not go off the rails and just do something crazy. I mean, his SNL skits, if you look at all of them, they're consistently long and pretty drawn out. I mean, he likes musical numbers in a lot of his skits. He takes his time, and I don't think that is a benefit when hosting. And I wouldn't want him to change to try and be a better host. I'd rather they just use him for, a couple of appearances. Maybe next year he gets to give 2 awards. And that will be perfectly acceptable. And they can let Tina Fey be the host. She was pretty good, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, what is she
Uh,
even up to? I haven't seen her much.
well,
I guess
she's
she's about to take over SNL, right?
with that, and she made all that money off of the Mean Girls musical that she wouldn't tell people was a musical until they got there.
Oh man. So adding on to all of this, another bit that had the internet by storm was during the best costume and makeup categories. We see a nude John Cena come out to present the award. And a lot of people took pictures. He got as nude as you can possibly be, with the exception of putting a little cloth in front of his dingling and behind. He was naked up there. Ryan, what your reaction to the 16-time WWE champion presenting at the Oscars with no clothes on?
It brings a whole new meaning to "You Can't See Me."
Ricky
Um, yeah, I mean, so I don't know what his new movie's about.
Stenicki?
I'm I'm gonna guess it has a lot to do with nudity
I haven't seen
because
it.
between this and the OnlyFans, I think it's pretty clear that this new movie, this Ricky Stenicki, is gonna have something to do with like the adult film industry or OnlyFans or the nudity in some way. Because it has to be promo for that, right? This has to be part of that.
I think
Uh,
in a way, but why they asked him initially, well, that actually brings me to my point. And Ryan, I know you love speaking on conspiracies, but one of the talking points regarding this presentation, it goes back to Cat Williams on Shannon Sharp talking about how there are Hollywood celebrity types who will go out to do almost these embarrassing rituals to impress their higher ups. Just saying, that's what Cat Williams said, not me.
sure.
But people were pointing to this out because Twitter doesn't like seeing anybody happy. Is this just
No.
another people BSing and just talking out of their ass?
But yeah, because I mean, breaking down that claim, I don't even know what that means. Are they saying that John Cena didn't need to do that, just chose to do it to make the higher ups again? Makes no sense. If your higher ups ask you to do something, you're not doing it to impress them. They're your boss. You're doing it
Right.
because your boss asked you to do something. So I guess I'm confused as to what the claim is, but that's beside the point. I don't think it's a conspiracy. Again, he's got an OnlyFans under the name Ricky Stenicki, which we know for a fact has to do with a new movie. We know that. Like that's baked. That's true. We know that to be true.
Yeah, I think
So
this is
this
just
has something to do with that. The reason
yeah,
he was
people said
naked is because of that.
that he was humiliated on purpose and this is just a Hollywood scheme, if you will.
No, I don't know.
That's
I
just
don't.
what he
Again,
was.
makes
I don't
absolutely no
agree
sense.
either.
I don't know what that means. Seek help. but it was because he's promoting a movie where he's going to be naked a bunch, uh, and so he got naked. That's, in my opinion, based on this plus the OnlyFans, that's the thing that makes the most sense. And as far as the conspiracy thing, I don't dislike conspiracies, Matt. You know this, but I do need them to make sense, and this one doesn't.
Hmm.
It just doesn't. What, they paid him how much money to show up naked? And you know what I mean? Like, what is the conspiracy? He got paid a bunch of money to hold up a sign. Like, the dude is jacked. Like, honestly, he still looks great. Maybe not ring shaped, but still looks great. No one's gonna be like, I can't believe John Cena had to get naked. That must be so embarrassing. John Cena became famous for running around shirtless for how many years? 12? More than that. How many years was Cena active? Doesn't really matter. It was a considerable number of years. John
Do
Cena
do do
doesn't.
do.
Yeah, John Cena's not self-conscious about his body. Okay, if they did this to, like, actually no, because I was gonna use like Josh Gad, but Josh Gad, while it doesn't look like Cena, is also not self-conscious about his body. So I'll be honest with you, like, it doesn't work no matter how you try and slice it. None of these people have any shame in their body, so it's not hazing because they don't care. It's, or if it is hazing, it's a bad hazing ritual because none of the people they're making do it care if people see them naked. So I
The
mean,
only time I've seen like people punishment for going to Hollywood, I don't know if you know, it's one of my favorite things. So just quickly on wrestling. So if you know how WrestleMania X7, the next night on Raw, they had a rematch for a steel cage where The Rock was suspended for a few months, but he really went to shoot the Scorpion King. But in the ring, you see Triple H and Stone Cold legit, obviously kayfabe, but beat him up, almost beat him up into suspension. That's the only legit hazing to get in Hollywood.
yeah, but that's going to Hollywood. That's not from Hollywood. Hollywood didn't haze The Rock, other than they made him be the Scorpion King. But
By the way, what's hilarious about that, you had John Cena, Bad Bunny, and The Rock all in
big
that one
night.
segment, all WWE legends.
I think, by the way, John Cena is going to be at WrestleMania. I think that, you want to talk about conspiracy, that's the true conspiracy from this segment. He's talked about a match with I think, The Rock, at WrestleMania recently on like Jimmy Fallon or something. It's not, obviously, it's not going to happen. He's
I
not
thought it was
fighting
our
The Rock
boy
again.
Chris Van Fleet.
Did he say it to him too?
Yeah.
I thought he said it to Fallon, so he may have said it twice now, right? So I think Cena's back for WrestleMania 40 in some capacity. I think it'll be great.
All three of those
Good stuff.
guys all are Royal Rumble Final Four finalists. That all
Yeah,
have that in
yeah,
common.
they do.
By the way, last thing before we move on, Ricky Stidnicki, this is the plot.
Okay.
Three friends form a lifelong bond when they invent Ricky Stidnicki, an imaginary fake friend who becomes their get out of anything free card. One day they hire Rod, John Cena, and an Atlantic City performer to temporarily assume the role of Ricky. But Rod has no intention of giving Ricky up. That actually sounds like a funny movie. We should watch that.
It does.
It's
Yeah, I
on
would watch that.
Amazon.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I would watch that. But my guess is that Atlantic City performer is code for adult film star. That's my opinion. Because again, the entire marketing has been John Cena doing adult film stuff. So that's gonna
Yes,
play a role. It's gonna play a role.
we will definitely have to see. Just quickly to switch gears. One thing that was weird with the Oscars was the in memoriam, the way
Yeah,
that it
this
was
was a strange one.
presented. So usually, you just bring in the edited montage of people,
Sure.
but they decided to do that while also trying to film the orchestra and the opera singers and all of that. And you
Mm-hmm.
couldn't even see some of the people that they were honoring without,
Honoring,
squinting
yeah.
your eyes. And then they presented just a list of people that they, I guess, didn't think were famous enough to get their own name. But that's
Memoriam.
hard. So I won't criticize people doing that. And of course, there's always omissions. There wasn't Angus Cloud from Euphoria. There wasn't
Mhm.
Norman Lear, but that was just a strange way. It was almost like they lost the stream and they had to shoot it that way.
Oh, you think that they were going to do a normal and then they couldn't see the screen or whatever anymore, so they
Or
just
they
cut
couldn't,
to them.
they couldn't, like on a directing board, you have to go through different cameras and
Hmm.
shots, or go to an editing bay to show what we have here.
Hmm. And
I'm not
they
saying
and
maybe. It's just I
I'm just
just don't
saying
know why they would do that.
my thing is not for nothing to the orchestra and opera singer, right? But they're alive, right?
Yeah.
So no one needs to see them. Maybe at the beginning, but I feel like the whole point of the segment is to honor the folks who have passed. So the fact that they made it difficult to do that was kind of weird. Because they
And
did. They made it difficult to do that by
yeah,
not being able to see their names.
weird one there. But also, Ryan, let's talk about your guy Bradley Cooper. One
Yeah.
last day for film Twitter to make fun of him. It was funny the one clip they showed him as I don't know if it was for the best picture or for the acting, where they showed the clip of him talking about, well, I slept with your parents last week, which was definitely a strange thing to tell a child in a film
Mm-hmm.
or not in a film. And then people on Twitter just making fun of him. Ah, he didn't get what he wanted. He's being desperate, blah, blah, blah. Jimmy Kimmel was making fun of him. Why won't they leave the man alone?
So Jimmy Kimmel was making jokes because they were topical, because they were trending. So I'll start there. Kimmel's pass, granted, because that's the point of being the host is to make topical jokes about what's trending, and people were dunking on Bradley Cooper, so it made sense. However, for everyone else, it's like a freaking broken record. Like, what do you want? I don't understand this concept. Maybe you can help me. Why wouldn't he want to win this award? Can someone truly, someone tell me? Here's the thing, you know what? Like Spielberg, we just talked about him, right? Him and Nolan. He made a movie that was very different than anything he had ever made before to win his Oscar, right? And he made it sad, and he made it about a horrific event, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Spielberg did not pull any punches. He said, "I want to win this Oscar, so I'm doing a Holocaust movie." And he sat there, and during the press tour, he talked about the weight of the movie. He talked about like the survivors. He talked about those who died, and I mean, he laid it on thick. And I don't know that anyone gave Spielberg a hard time.
No Twitter then.
Daniel Day Lewis does this for every role. Every single role, the dude just pretends to be freaking Abraham Lincoln or something, and no one has a problem with that. But Bradley Cooper just wanted to win an award. And everyone had a problem with that. And not even just win an award. It wasn't even like, oh, I want to win Best Actor. I think he'd have been fine with any of the awards. He just wanted to make a movie that won an Oscar because he thought that would be cool. He's been doing this a long time. He loves his job. And how better to show you love your job than to try and win its most prestigious prize? I can't for the life of me understand the critique. Truly, like if you have even a bad explanation for other than these people are miserable mother can't finish the sentence. If you have anything besides that for explaining why for the last 3 months people have been just horrifically miserable to a person who by all accounts just wanted to do a good job, that would be really helpful, Matt, because I can't think of a single reason that doesn't involve those folks needing to take a long walk off a short pier and get the heck over themselves because, yeah, their life sucks, but like not everybody's life has to. You know what I mean?
I'm sure you know the term Oscar bait, and clearly at least this one's very Oscar baity,
But
and
which one
people don't
wasn't?
like. Well, right, yeah,
Dude, name one of the 10 movies that
I,
wasn't an Oscar bait film.
I guess
Barbie.
Barbie,
Yeah,
are.
maybe though, but that was like Barbie had. I mean, one of the lines in Barbie is like, do you ever have existential dread? A
Yeah,
movie featuring a Mattel property asked another Barbie if they ever had feelings of unexplained existential dread.
we
That
need
movie
our
was
update, by the way, on the Mattel universe.
no, we don't. That was like so that was not like it was a kids movie that everybody loved and got nominated. That movie was absolutely designed to explore higher questions, to explore greater themes. It was absolutely an Oscar bait movie. It just what it was pink. The only difference is Barbie was There's an Oscar bait in pink. That's the only difference. So,
Capitalism. The one thing Barbenheimer showed us that capitalism always wins.
well, I mean, certainly for the directors in terms of their checkbooks, but seriously, none of the movies were not Oscar baity. Like even the comedies, you look at American Fiction. I mean, come on. There was a message, and they hit you with that message in the first like 6 minutes of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
The Holdovers, another comedy. It's a period piece. It explores the dynamics between like an older
Yeah,
academic and a young.
clash of generations.
It is absolutely like all of them, past lives even, or I mean not past lives, Poor Things even, which was the most eccentric of the group. It had massive sets. It had an interesting kind of exploration of the human like evolution like of human life from like adolescence to full adulthood using this the brain scheme that they had for that movie. I won't give too much more away. Every single movie was Oscar bait. Every single performance in these Oscar bait movies was Oscar bait. So no, I
I
actually
get.
don't accept the Oscar bait theory
Mm,
because they all were. Name one that wasn't, and then I'll shut up.
I mean, you make a
You
fair
think
point. I
Iron you
guess
think
they
Iron
just.
Man was in Oppenheimer for fun? No. Iron Man was in Oppenheimer because he wanted to win an award. He wanted to do a prestige movie, and this was his opportunity to do that. Like, come on.
maybe
Seriously.
maybe just somebody just honest. Maybe they're just some haters, some counts, and just that's the only
No, I
logical
told you what
explanation
happened.
I say.
I told
It's
you what
just the
happened.
Oscar baiting, and he made it too obvious. It was obvious Oscar bait.
No, I already told you what happened. I said it last time. He put on that effing fake nose, and everyone had a problem with it. But then the rest of the world didn't get mad enough about the fake nose. So those fake nose people decided to hate this movie with as much passion as they could possibly muster for an entire year. That is 100% what happened here. Because, no, again, Oscar bait is not a good example. I mean, seriously. Seriously.
I guess, and then
The
there's the
Oppenheimer
last.
movie was written to be an Oscar-winning movie. It was written that way. It was acted that way. It was edited that way. I mean, freaking Ryan Gosling, who had the least serious role of any of the nominated awards, even he went around doing all sorts of messaging about like the power of women and about what the patriarchy. Like every single one of them was 100% in on Hollywood, was 100% in on giving the Oscars plenty of reasons why their performance and their role in their movie and their editing and their music deserved an Oscar. None of these people weren't Oscar baiting. Not a single one. Comment in the comments, tell me which one you think wasn't. I'll respond with why you're wrong because it was.
Yeah, I guess you know how we choose actors we love, we dislike and stuff. We want to clown. I guess just people on Twitter for whatever reason choose Bradley Cooper as somebody to clown,
Bunch of miserable people, that's why.
and they don't want to see him happy. So now he's, I guess, 0 for 11 with nominations, and he'll just keep going.
And to be clear, I'm not mad that they didn't win. I think the winners were the right winners. I'd
Yeah.
love to see him win because obviously he really wanted it. But I don't think he I don't believe he had the best performance and he was robbed. So like I'm not even saying he should have won everyone's, but no, but just who cares? He wanted to win. He wanted to do a good job. Like seriously, people, goodness gracious. Get an ambition. Any ambition. Have a dream and follow through.
You mentioned Ryan Gosling. No doubt the moment of the weekend was Ryan Gosling's rendition of I'm Just Ken. Tell me about your thoughts of I'm Just Ken live.
It was really good. He sounded pretty good, right? I mean, not a singer, but sounded very good. Sounded like no, seriously, sounded like a singer. He had the rock star energy of a singer for sure. He got the crowd involved. By the crowd I mean his co-stars and then Emma Stone.
Oh man, you know who the internet wants a couple to work out is Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone from La
Isn't
La
Emma
Land.
Stone married though?
Yes, they're both married, but
Yeah,
the internet said fuck it.
I
We don't
guess.
care. We need you to be together.
I don't know. All I know is that Ryan Gosling had a great performance. What I'm upset about, not that the other song wasn't good, is that should have won the best song.
Yeah,
Let's
he would have won
once
the Oscar too. He would have won. That's how he would get his first Oscar. from
which
singing.
would have been a little sad. But anyway, like, but in all seriousness, like I get it, the other song's good, and they always pick slow, weepy ballad songs. No
Yeah,
one cares. Everybody likes the Ken song. Give it to the Ken song. It's the important part of the movie. Greta Gerwig said it's like the most fun she's ever had filming anything.
that's
Was
saying
the
something.
right? I mean,
You
she's
want to
filming a
know
bunch of
what?
stuff.
Guess what? People on film Twitter said that she sold out because she is now rebooting Chronicles of Narnia. Another thing the internet wants to be mad about.
Well, who cares?
The film Twitter. She said you need to stick to your tourism instead of going to
It
another
was a
franchise.
Barbie movie.
That's what they said. Just
The
telling you.
Barbie movie is not. That's a franchise. Since
Yeah.
like the 50s. Barbie's longer than Narnia. I mean,
Well, now
goodness
we have
gracious.
Narnia, the Chronic What Calls of Narnia.
Chronicles of what of Narnia.
Mhm.
No, but I think that'll be good. I like the books, the Narnia books. I hope she sticks with it. I hope they do more than one book. The last book in that series is actually quite good, my opinion. Um, and it'd be awesome to see her take on that. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that, and I mean, no one should, but I get it. It's going to be a franchise thing, but I don't know. Like, that doesn't have to be a bad thing. We've seen in the past, and people keep forgetting it because it's convenient for when you can't do anything yourself to just critique. And so we critique these large tent poles, and I get it. We should make less of them. I'm in agreement with that.
Mhm.
But we mentioned Christopher Nolan's Batman. Are you gonna tell me Batman is not a franchise movie?
Oh, it's as franchise as it gets. It's
Literally.
literally a
And
DC movie.
yeah, and those
Maybe
are
the
great.
only good DC movie, but
Yeah,
still.
and those are great. And they feel like a Christopher Nolan movie, so those are great. Like, Marvel for all of its, Marvel's, the currently Marvel does kind of stink. But it didn't always stink. It didn't always stink. And some of those movies in the early stages were actually very good. Iron Man, as an
Yeah,
example, was a
after
good
Endgame,
movie.
they could have just stopped.
Yeah, but I'm saying like Iron Man, good movie, right? Like some of
The
the Spider-Mans, good movies. So like
you know
you
the
can make
Godfather's a franchise.
yeah, you can make a good franchise movie. And so I don't and but if you want to, if you're just making a franchise movie saying if I make this franchise movie, everyone will see it because everybody loves the franchise, then that movie will suck. But if you're saying I want to make a good movie of the Chronicles of Narnia, if that's the goal, if good movie is goal number 1, and Chronicles of Narnia is just the vehicle for goal number 1, then you can still make a good movie. Now, or I want to make a good movie about Barbie. Like put the same logic in place. As
It
long as good
works.
movie is the first priority, the rest will take care of it. Now, if like, I want to make a Barbie movie and make it good, if Barbie is the main point and you stick to the source material too closely and you make it, kind of vapid and shallow, then the movie ends up being horrible. And so if they say, I want to make a Narnia movie, it's going to end up being a horrible movie. But if they want to make a good movie about Narnia, I think they can do it. I think she can do it. I think we owe all of these, all of this crop directors, everyone in the who is celebrated this year, we owe them the chance to do whatever they want on their next project because this could have been a bad year for movies and it wasn't.
Amen to that. So I guess it's appropriate to end it with what were the worst movies? This is the first time I am seeing this list too. The Razzies were this weekend as well. So
Mm-hmm.
Ryan, let us check out what was considered the worst of the worst. And I see here, oh man, decided by the Golden Raspberry Award Foundation, which includes about 1,200 movie buffs, film critics, and journalists in 49 states and 24 foreign countries. It became official. All right, Ryan, there was history made,
Hmm.
but first, we had a guess. Which film won Worst Picture between Exorcist Believer, Expendables 4, Meg 2, Shazam 2, and Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey? What do you think? Who do you think won the Worst Picture?
I believe we predicted it would be Winnie the Pooh, right?
And it did. Winnie the
Okay.
Pooh was honored as the Worst Picture of 2023. And its director, Reese Frank Waterford, won worst screenplay and worst director. Great start to the career.
That is a great start to your career. It's a great start if you turn it around. If you stay there, not so great a start to your career. But if Winnie the Pooh is your first and last dud, then actually it becomes a really cool story.
Well, Ryan, according to this, his next film will come out. It will be Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2,
Okay,
coming out March
he's bad.
26th.
Yeah. So he's just cashing in on the notoriety of being a bad movie. He wants to make, he's exploiting the fact that he's bad at this to try and make some quick money.
Ryan, do you want to hear the premise of Winnie the Pooh? Winnie the Pooh 2?
Sure.
It says Winnie the Pooh, Piglet, Tigger, and Owl find their home
Uh-oh.
and lives endangered after Christopher Robin reveals their existence following the events of the first film. Not wanting to live in the shadows any longer, the group decides to embark on a rampage throughout the town of Ashdown and get revenge on Christopher once and for all.
That's a lot to unpack. I'm actually looking here, and what I want to point out, you know who was not nominated for worst actor?
Who was not nominated? Who?
The guy who played Christopher Robin.
Ooh,
Maybe Christopher Robin is good. Maybe we should see this movie. Because what if Christopher
played by
Robin,
Nicole Leon.
Nikolai? Yeah, I was looking
Nikolai
at Nikolai Leon. Maybe
Le-
I'm just saying, does not have a Razzie for the performance in what I'm
he
sure
got away with
was
it, I
a
guess.
was a bad movie. So they made money though, right?
He said that it says here one of his next
Yeah.
films will be Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare.
Is Peter Pan public domain?
I'm not sure. Let me quickly Google search it. Is
Because
Peter Pan?
so for those of you who don't know, Winnie the Pooh entered into public domain. That's the reason why Winnie the Pooh is now a murderous bear in Winnie the Pooh,
Excuse me.
Blood and Honey. Bless you. Because all of the Winnie the Pooh properties, so Christopher Robin, Winnie the Pooh, Piglet, Tigger, the 100 Acre
Mm-hmm.
Wood, all of that's free to use however you want now. So that's
By the
why
way,
this is being
just
made.
this year, Peter Pan did go into public domain.
That's right. So that's why. So this guy's gonna just wait like this, like that meme from behind the guy behind the tree. You know what I'm talking about? For all these movies,
Yeah,
for all these
the
properties to go into public domain. He's just gonna sit there like this, and as soon as it happens, boom, horror movie with Peter Pan. It'd be boom, or Mickey Mouse. You could do
he
Steamboat
went
Willie
to
horror
public
movie.
domain. I know they're doing a like messed up version of him.
That's what I'm saying. So they could do Steamboat Willie, haunted steamboat with Steamboat Willie. They can't call him Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse is not public domain.
You just have to
Steamboat
call him. You have to call him Steamboat
Steamboat
Willie.
Willie is. Yes, the very first Mickey Mouse cartoon with the steamboat captain. That is public domain. Or maybe it's Steamboat Mickey. But either way, it's specifically the steamboat. So it can't be the normal guy. It has to be the steamboat version. So, but Haunted Steamboat, 100% you can make a movie on Haunted Steamboat. Might
So
cost a little more, but
so some other people who were honored in the Golden Raspberries. I can't report that Vin Diesel didn't win worst actor as Dominic Toretto, but John Voight did for Mercy.
I think he went in person to accept it.
Let me quickly look that into that. Did anyone accept their Golden Raspberries? You know, it would be funny. This person would be a good sport. Megan Fox was nominated for both Worst Actress and Worst Supporting Actress. Worst Actress for Johnny and Clyde, and Worst Supporting Actress for Expendables 4, and she won both of them.
I hope she went. That would be funny.
According to
Truly,
this,
that would be funny.
nobody went to accept a Golden Raspberry this year. I
That would have been funny.
am sorry
Truly.
to report this. Nobody went to accept a Golden Raspberry in 24. The last person to actually accept a Golden Raspberry was The Rock in 2018.
That's really funny. You know who's accepted a Golden Raspberry though? John
Who?
Williams, who this year won an Oscar.
Oh man.
You got to get you someone who could do both. John Williams could do both.
So
Right? John
he,
Williams was Oppenheimer, correct? Or no? Who was he?
John Williams he's Steven Spielberg's guy. The guy who won this year was
Yeah,
the Louis.
Louis, whatever. But he
Yeah,
didn't win this year. But John Williams has previously won. There was the picture of him. He was at the event, I believe. But anyway, it doesn't really matter,
Sandra
right?
Bullock has accepted it. Tom Green has accepted it. Ben Affleck has accepted it. Um, Bill Cosby, that's not a good one. Um, but
I'll be
uh,
honest with you.
Jamie Duran.
If I was an actor and I got the award, you couldn't pay me not to show up. Especially if I was a famous actor. I mean, it's one thing, I feel bad for somebody, but I'm looking at these names. Most of them are very famous.
Stallone won Worst Supporting Actor.
Stallone, Michael Douglas, Mel Gibson, Bill Murray, Megan Fox, Kim Cattrall, Ana de Armas,
Mm.
Salma Hayek, Jennifer Lopez. Like, if I'm Jennifer Lopez, granted she didn't win, but if I'm Jennifer Lopez, yeah, I'm going. You kidding me? Of course I'm going. I'm Jennifer Lopez. It doesn't matter to me that I won the worst movie. This bunch of people who don't matter said I was the worst at my job this year. Okay.
So Ryan, remember when I told you there is a Razzie Redeemer Award
Yeah, I'm
and
seeing
they
that right
didn't
now.
announce that until the day of the ceremony?
Yeah.
So this year's winner was Fran Dresser, a 1998 nominee and current SAG-AFTRA president for her brilliant spearheading of the Actors Guild through a prolonged 2023 strike with a successful conclusion.
I
She
like
was
that.
she won that, so good for her.
I like that. That's good. That sometimes it's bigger than just movies, right? Has won a Razzie before, and maybe not in acting, but has been a very influential person in Hollywood, especially this year when it was needed. Leadership was needed. So I think that's great. I actually love that.
Well, on that positive note, I think we can call it a day. Good work,
Hmm.
Ryan, as always. We'll see you at the end of this week to do the tweet cap. And let's begin the road to Oscar weekend 2025. The 97th Academy Awards road begins now. And who's in the lead? Anything but you.
Really?
No,
I
I
don't
don't
think
know.
that's not getting nominated.
I guess Dune 2, actually. People are going crazy
Probably.
about that. So
Maybe this
um
weekend I'll see Dune 2.
we'll see that. You seen Dune 1?
Yeah.
I still haven't
Well,
seen Dune.
during COVID, but
I
so I don't
figured I'll
remember.
watch it when Dune 2 comes out and I'll just do the double feature.
I think it'd be long.
Yeah, well, everything's long, right?
Well, yeah, it's true. But at that point, it's your fault for watching two movies.
Should be good though. All right, Ryan. We'll see next time.
See
We'll
ya
see you next time. Peace.
later.